Tuning in today. Good. Demonstrate second Friday of every month. You all out. Glowing glass. Public glass. Hi. Demonstration. We'll answer them. If you want to call, check out our website and find our phone number and call us. But we are a really big thing in a really cool cultural district, Texas. We're just south of downtown, and we do a lot around here. So join us. The ice cream of July, and in June, the 24th, we are hosting. Tonight we are making our newest ice cream treat. Ice pop, kind of delicious. It acts. This coming year, we're going to make Blizzard. We're going to make some. Together. So Eagle and knit group. And inside the push pop, and we're going to donation to help us to further our cause in bringing process so a lot. If you like what you hear, if you want to help us to continue to grow, to continue to bring glass to the community, make a donation, or come take a class. All right. So Amy's going to take you out into the hot shop and show you the process, and Kanan will be narrating through all this crazy bump. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm handing the mic off to Kanan.
Awesome. Welcome in, everybody. Glad to have you tonight, tuning in. Woo. So it is very hot in the studio right now. So right now in the studio we have Madeline, who's currently getting glass out of the furnace, wearing the peach shirt, and then we have Erica in the blue shirt. We have Tatara in the gray shirt, Kevin's in the yellow shirt. And they'll all be working on different parts for the glass. Additionally, Nick is going to be in the flame working studio off camera working on a couple of different stuff for us this evening. Right now we're starting off with the base layers of all of our colors. So Kevin's already put a layer of white, and now they're getting a layer of blue. And then they're going to put another layer on top of that. So they go ahead and heat up all that glass. They'll smush it back on top. When they do that, Kevin's gonna make sure that the blue is cold and the other color is now hot. So when he goes to heat it, he should be able to push all of that back onto the glass, making it much easier to get a solid layer of color.
So for those of you who don't know, Topo Chico is awesome. Any sponsors in those?
Mic isn't working. All right. So you can see Kevin's pulling back that extra layer of color now. That way you can pull it all the way back on so you get a nice good layer on top. After all the colors are melted in and kind of smoothed out, then they'll put one more layer on top of that. Kevin, are you doing a Swedish overlay? No. Okay. No. So it's blue, black, then white?
It's two blues. It's Dutch blue and cobalt.
Oh, okay.
So that way we get more of that blue instead of a pastel blue.
Gotcha. So yeah, they have two different blues that they're layering on top. If you guys have ever taken a class with us before, you'll notice that we'll do frit sizes for all of our glass. And so those are nice little chunks of glass. What Kevin did now is he actually applied a rod of color on top. The rod's for a nice full layer of color. Whenever we apply glass color, A rod is going to give us the most even layer of color. If you ever have frit, you can almost notice the little parts where each of the individual pieces of glass were originally applied. And so this overlay is going to give us the best way to make sure that all of our color looks really nice. What are you looking for?
White powder.
Not in here. It'll be over there. Or the yellow toad. The yellow toad inside there, the white powder would be there.
At some point, grab Amy and go with Amy to talk about Nick. He's also making, I think he's making a cherry or strawberry.
So Kevin's allowing that extra piece of glass to cool down a little bit more. Once that glass cools down, then he's going to go ahead and get another layer of clear on top. And then after he gets the layer of clear, they will apply some white. So Kevin now has a second layer of color on top, or a clear glass on top. It appears more orange while it's hot because glass, whenever it's in its molten state, is going to be more orange hued, signifying how hot it is. Once it starts to cool, we'll get that clear look to the glass. Anytime we come out of the furnace, the glass is always going to be a little bit uneven, so Kevin's going to go ahead and use a tool called a block. This is made out of fruit-based wood. We use cherry wood, and this helps to smooth the outside layer of that new layer of glass. Kevin's also currently using newspaper. This is just 7 sheets of folded up newspaper that is soaked in water. And whenever they heat on the top layer, it creates a carbon layer that allows it to glide across the glass. The newspaper is the closest we can get to actually touching the glass. It looks like Kevin's allowing this to cool down again so he can get another layer of glass on top. 2 more times. So we're going to have about 4 layers of glass on this. So while Kevin and Tatara are getting that base of our blizzard ready, On the other bench, we have Erica and Madeline that have been working on little M&M and candies that we're going to be putting on top for our like mixed candy. So Kevin goes into the furnace, he gets a little bit more glass, and then he'll bring it out. He'll cool the pipe a little bit, and then do the same thing where he sets it up with a wooden block to make sure it's nice and smooth. So you can see the layer of glass is a little uneven, so that's where the wooden block really comes into place, is helping to even out that next layer of glass. He'll also use the metal table just to give it a quick shape. And then he'll use the newspaper to help redistribute that clear glass layer a little bit more. So Kevin's once again just blowing to make sure that that bubble hasn't collapsed, making sure the inside is still hollow so we can blow into it later. And then he's going to allow that extra layer of glass to cool down again. Once it's fully cold, then he'll get another layer on top of that, and that'll be our final layer of glass. So Kevin's now putting on a sleeve. This one's specifically designed for glass blowers, and it's a much larger sleeve. This is going to help once we start getting a larger piece of glass to help shield his forearms from the heat. And if you think about it, whenever we get more glass on top, we actually are exponentially increasing our size. We start off with a very small layer, and this is only our 4th layer of glass, and when it comes out, it's going to be substantially big. And he's actually going to elect to allow some of that glass to drip off the end that's extra. What's essential is making sure that inside layer is cold, that way it doesn't move, otherwise it would all drip off, which is why he waited so long to get another layer of glass on top. But you can see the amount of glass that we have is much larger at this point. And so once again, he's going to sit at that bench, even out that next layer of clear. And then once it's all even, he will go ahead and start reheating and shaping it afterwards. So first he's using the newspaper. He's going to go ahead and smooth and redistribute the clear. What he wants to do is he wants to push a little bit more of that clear off the end. That way the clear doesn't gather up on the pipe. At the very end, when we break this off, any glass that's left on the pipe stays on the pipe, and so ideally we want to push off as much glass off the end as possible. He likes his shape, so he's going to go ahead and start heating it up. So Kevin's now using the metal marver to go ahead and redistribute the glass further. Anytime that he does this, the glass is also cooling. So the idea is that he wants to cool the glass in specific areas, so that way whenever he blows, it starts to expand in the hotter spots. Whenever we do this, we're cooling off the tip of the glass, so that way we can blow it out near the end of the pipe. That way where it's right by the pipe, it won't be as thick, so that way we'll have an easier time getting it off, as well as a little bit of a thinner base. Kevin's now also gone ahead and attached a blow hose. This blow hose is going to allow him to feed air into the glass. Whenever we blow into the glass, we're not actually blowing a whole lot with our lungs. We're actually blowing more so with our pressure. Whenever pressure gets trapped inside of the pipe, the heat from the glass causes it to expand, so we really only need a little bit of air going into this pipe to be able to start making it expand. But you can see while he's blowing, Kevin's also manipulating the tip of the glass and the edges to kind of shape where the bubble is going to expand out as he blows. What we're doing now is we're just getting the basic shape started. We're basically blowing it out, thinning it out, and getting it to the large shape that we want. Then we'll start physically manipulating it into more of a cone almost afterwards. We are making a blizzard essentially, so mixed candy ice cream. So the idea is we're going to make a cup first, and so that's what we're working on right now. If you ever come into the studio to make a cup, usually the way that we'll do it is we'll make the neckline, and that will be where we actually drink from the glass, and we'll flip it over to another pipe. Tonight though, we're just going to blow it all on this single pipe, with the end goal being that we'll have a solid base, and then the top where we break it off will be the opening. So with this amount of glass, it takes several steps to be able to blow and thin out that amount of glass, which is why Kevin's consistently heating it, blowing it, cooling, and then reheating it again.
Blue M&M. Which one?
So we're now getting to the point where we're going to need a door open. The final dimensions for our shape are going to be roughly about 12 inches tall and about 10 inches at the very top wide area. The diameter of the single doors, I believe, is about 8 inches. And so in order to work with that large size blizzard cup that we want to do, we're going to have to open up both doors most likely. So there will be a long period of time where that heat will be radiating it off. So once again, Kevin's just going to shape it with a newspaper, cooling it while blowing. On the other benches we previously mentioned, they're making different types of candies. And so if you're in the studio, you can see up on our shields that we have, there's a bunch of different pictures of little candies that we have, everywhere from like gummy worms to Oreos. We're also making small like M&Ms. And what we're doing with the smaller pieces is we're making them and then we're allowing them to sit at about 920 degrees. That way they're hot and they'll stay hot the entire time. The other great thing about using that hot box is that we can make a lot of these items beforehand. So some of the studio members were actually making glass before we started. And now we're able to just add to it as we go. So we can see the larger that this piece has gotten, the more it's blown out, the cooler the sides get. And so we're able to see the blue actually come out a little bit more. The blue is going to be close to accurate while we're working with it. So once it hits about that 1,000 to 1,300 degree mark, the blue is going to be pretty close to what it should look like once it fully cools down. It might shift a little bit depending on how the layer of blue underneath this cobalt is. So Kevin's now using a pair of jacks to go ahead and carve in a line. This line's going to be where we break the piece off at the very end. The piece is large enough at this point that Tatara is also shielding his hand. That way the heat radiating from the piece isn't going to mess with Kevin while he's working. Kevin's going to elect to go ahead and use the torch to heat that line up again. That way the heat from the flame isolates where the line is. That way when he goes to reheat it, that line has a head start on the heat, so it should be hotter than the rest of the piece. So we can see a little bit there how that blue cobalt is actually a little bit more of like a purplish blue while it's hot. As it cools down though, it will be more close to the actual blue that we're looking for. It's pretty close to what we want though. So Kevin's now heated all that up again. He's going to go ahead and use the jacks one more time to go ahead and start carving in the line. It's essential we do it at this step because after the line's in, it'll remain relatively cold for the rest of the process. We don't want that line to move at all later on in the step, so it's important that we do it now. That way when we want to heat things later on, we can heat them away from the pipe instead of heating all of the glass in order to make it move. So now that the line's pretty well set in there, Kevin's going to now focus on shaping the rest of the glass. Near the pipe where that line is going to be our shorter spot, and then it's going to come out a little bit wider to where the top of the cup's going to be. So where he's heating currently will be the technical bottom of our Blizzard ice cream. And then the part away from the pipe is going to be the very top where we'll have the ice cream coming out. The idea is that we're going to get the cup shape first. Once the cup shape is established, then we're going to go ahead and start adding white to it for the ice cream. After all the white's added, then we're going to start adding all of the different cookies or little candies that we've been making on the side. So Kevin's heated that up and he's allowing it to fall back on itself a little bit more by using gravity. So by holding it up at that angle, it slowly drips back. And then he's going to control the sides and the shape again just to make sure it's where he likes it. Glass blowing is definitely a team sport, especially today since we have a lot of moving pieces. We have 4 different people in the studio helping to make stuff, with Clifton also jumping in back and forth, so that'll be 5 people. Kevin is gaffing right now, and then Tatara will be gaffing as well. So they're the main ones working on the piece, while everyone else will be assisting them almost. And so Tara's basically checking where Kevin's at to make sure that she can back him up. Clifton's also jumped into the paddle to now guard his forearm so that way it doesn't get as hot. Even though that sleeve does protect from the heat, radiant heat is going to be pretty strong, so it's going to pierce a little bit through that. So the wooden shield just helps to block and absorb some of that heat. Cool. So Kevin signified that he's going to go to the Marver. What he's done is he's gone ahead and heated up the base. He's going to bring it over at a bit of an angle, allow gravity to pull it off to elongate it. Once it's elongated, he's going to cool that back end first, shape the sides while keeping a little bit of pressure in there. And the pressure is going to make it so that as he's blowing out, the table's pushing back as he rolls to give him a nice straight edge. Rotation's key in here. If we ever stop turning at any point, we'll get a flat spot, especially if we're shaping it on the table or if we're using the jacks to bring it down. And so we always want to be turning the entire time. If we stop turning, we'll get like weird angles or we'll get flat spots on our piece. So he'll use the newspaper now to control the sides. As he does, he's also using a slight angle to his hand to push the glass off the end, elongating the piece further, and keeping a little bit of pressure just to make sure that it is not blowing out all the way as he keeps the air pressure in there. So Kevin's letting gravity pull that off first to elongate it. Then doing this slight angle, so as he blows, it'll expand and create almost like a taper. And by consistently turning, it gets those nice straight edges. What's nice about the blues is you can really see the difference in heat. The back end almost looks black, both because it's a lot thicker color back there, but also because the color is actually cold, versus the very tip looks more of an orange because we know it's hot. So they were using that wooden stick to measure about how tall this thing was. It's looking like it's almost to about size. So once again, using gravity to just naturally pull the glass off the end of the pipe, giving us that longer shape. And then by blowing and keeping that lower angle, those edges expand. So you can see a back and forth process the entire of heating, reheating, shaping. The other thing that's fun for us too is that this week we just switched formulas of glass. And so when we talk about any type of glass, there's many different types of formulas. We were using an old spruce pine mixture. Recently they took out one of the elements that was in it. And so now the glass that we use is a little harder to use. It's a little stiffer. So before we could work with the glass for about 30 to 40 seconds at a time. Now our working time's probably closer to about 20 to 30 seconds. It also means the glass gets colder quicker, the glass doesn't move as easily. And so we have to take that in consideration while we're making this stuff, especially since we just switched this week after years and years of using that formula. And so now that Kevin likes the shape of the sides more so, he's now heating more the top. That way he can focus up on the shaping there. So Kevin's now focused his heat almost entirely on the top. Tatara's now going to go ahead and start using a wooden paddle to push that top in, creating a flat spot for us. That'll be the very top of our blizzard cup. So I believe we'll shape and flatten it one more time. So Kevin, once again, has made sure that the very top is hot, and you can see the difference in the color. And so Tatara, once again, is going to go ahead and start pushing it with the paddle. Kevin, at the same time, is shaping the sides and blowing. By doing both, he's making sure it doesn't expand too far, or that Tatara doesn't push it in too much. Cliff. I think it's by the bit glory hole.
The white powder?
Not the powder, the coconut, I think. So Kevin's now just taking that torch to add some heat on the back of the pipe just to make sure it's hot. We don't want the back of the pipe to get too cold. If it does get too cold, it'll start cracking. So instead, we're heating up that back end to make sure it stays nice and hot. So for those of you guys who have joined us a little later, we are making a blizzard. So right now we're making the cup of it. This will be our donation jar that we'll have for all of next year. In 2 weeks, on the 24th of June, we are going to have our ice cream social. So there you will have the ability to come and kind of see a bunch of different ice cream bowls that we've been making that you can buy for yourself. There will also be ice cream from Melt Ice Cream as well. Additionally, we're also going to have sand casting all day, which is a unique opportunity to kind of get nice solid pieces of glass where you'll be able to shape the sand in a certain pattern and then we'll pour it on top. So if you guys are interested, that event should be live for you guys to be able to sign up for, or you can just come out day of and kind of hang out with us as well. What's great too is that the popsicle that we currently have for our donation jar inside the hot shop will be smashed open on that day as well. So that'll be another level of excitement for us, as we'll be breaking last year's popsicle. So right now Kevin's just allowing the entire piece to cool a little bit more, or Tatar's taking over. So Tatar's allowing it all to cool a little bit and torching up that back end so that way it doesn't get too cold. If it does get too cold, that would be bad news for us. So we're trying to keep all the glass above 1,000 degrees right now. That way it is not too cold to break, but we don't want it so hot that it starts moving. And so at first we were using the more directed heat with that nice torch, but now we're using our fluffy torch, which creates a nice broad flame. And that broad flame will help heat a larger area. In the meantime, Clifton is gone ahead and gotten some more glass from the furnace. Cliff is going to go ahead and start getting some white on top. And I believe this will be what we're using for the ice cream. So Cliff's gotten 2 layers, and then he's probably going to get a 3rd layer. He might let a little bit drip off, but we want a little bit more glass so that way we can totally fill up that ice cream. You'll also notice Tatar is allowing that very top part to kind of sink back. We don't want the glass to pull out on itself, especially for the back end shape that we want. And so we're not hanging down anymore, now we're hanging it up so that way it doesn't pull off. So right now, Tatar is just taking maiden seat at this point. She's also trying to allow that back part to sink down a little bit more. In the meantime, Cliff in the center of the studio has another clear bit of glass, and he's about to get his 3rd layer on top. Clifton's going to be adding some white powder on top of it to give us a nice, like, milky look to it. Currently working on what looks like our strawberry topper. So what's nice is that we can combine the two different elements of glass because they have the same coefficient of expansion. And so Nick is using a glass that's very similar to the glass that we're using in the hot shop. That way when we stick it all together, it'll all work together and it won't cause everything to break. You guys that are inside the studio, Nick, who's over here in the cold shop in the torch working area, which is air conditioned and nice. So I am also hanging out in here for a second since it's very hot outside, as well as Amy is. In the meantime, on the outside, they're still just working on that extra cup. Is now applying that extra color on top to make it a more of a milky color. That way we'll get a nice ice layer on top. So Nick is taking his red solid pieces and essentially applying a little bit of white to give it almost like a frosted strawberry look. He also has some green set off to the side later to do some leaves on top. And then Nick, are you gonna do some gummy bears or anything later?
Oh, here it goes. I do plan on doing some gummy bears. Let's see how that goes. I'll probably have to do those instead of the strawberry because they're not working out super great. This one came out okay. As far as strawberries go, that one was alright. With the things on the side, but I'm running out of so. Let's try it again. One more strawberry slice and then we'll start making gummy bears.
So Tatara instead has now gotten those extra layers of color. They've elected to go for a smaller piece of glass for the ice cream and then add multiple layers so it looks like it's like swirls of ice cream. What's nice is that the big huge piece that Clifton had was all clear, and so he broke it off in our clear container, so we'll be able to recycle that later. So we can recycle glass. That is a question that we get quite often. However, we cannot recycle any glass that has color in it. If the glass has color in it and we throw it back in, eventually all the colors combine to create a blue color. And the blue color ends up looking really nice, but if you only have a blue color, you can only make blue things. So as an educational facility, we always want to have clear color so we can start off with clear glass and then make any color afterwards. So Kevin's cooling the pipe because over time this pipe has definitely gotten a lot hotter. So Kevin's taking a flash. Tatara has let him know that he's ready. Kevin's going to go ahead and get a pair of diamond shears. He's then going to go ahead and grab the pipe. and then they're going to go ahead and attach some of that white, and they're going to bring it around and just kind of create small random swirls. And so they'll do that another 1 or 2 more times just to start getting the white for the ice cream. So Clifton now is also getting more white, and then Tatara's getting another thing of white as well. So we'll have 3 bits of ice cream that we're going to be applying onto here. What's nice about the glass is that we can blow it out and create thin spots in a hollow form, and we don't have to fill it all with ice cream, otherwise that would be an extremely heavy piece of glass. So communication is really important. So Kevin, Clifton, and Tatara are all communicating with each other to make sure that they all have enough heat or they're at the right temperature, and then they can all apply the layers of ice cream on top. So Cliff has let Kevin know that he's good. They're going to come over, attach. Kevin's now looking to fill in the areas that he didn't before. He also wants to make sure that he doesn't expand past where the top of the cup is. At this point in time, since Cliff, Tatara, and Kevin all are working with bits of glass, Madeline has jumped in and has now started flashing for Kevin. So Kevin's going to take this third and final one and hopefully cover up everything else, also creating more swirls in the actual blizzard. So they're going to check it to make sure everything's covered that they want. Additionally, they can also sculpt it a little bit more if they want to. So now they're going to use a tag Papelia or a tag. This is a nice flat metal tool that's almost like a knife, where you can just carve in specific areas or flatten out areas. So you can see Kevin's going to go ahead and take that torch, heat up area specific. Use the metal tool to push and the other one's overheating, so it's fine. Keep going back in there. So at this point in time, Madeline has handed it off. Clifton's going to be flashing this thing. Kevin is now heating up the while Tatara is using the fluffy torch to heat the back end near the jack line. That way it keeps the entire piece hot and above that 900-degree mark. So Kevin's now elected to use the much larger paddle to go ahead and just smush all of it back. Now the team's talking, they're real with it. So they're liking where the entire shape of the blizzard is with the ice cream. And so they're going to elect to start adding on the different type of toppings that we've already made. So Kevin's really focusing on heating just one spot as they turn. That way, whenever they bring over another piece of glass, they can attach it to that one spot. So Clifton on the other end is now preparing what we call a punty. He's going to go ahead and attach it to the gummy worm that they were making. Once it's attached, he's going to go ahead and they'll break it. Clifton is then going to go ahead and keep it hot. Kevin, in the meantime, has heated up that specific spot, so that way when they bring it over, they should be able to break it and then attach it directly to that hot spot. So with the bigger pieces that we've been making, the tools on the bench get a lot hotter, as Cliff just realized for all of us. People always ask us if we get burned, and the answer is yes, of course. When you work with glass as much as we do, burns are inevitable. But typically our burns are from metal tools because we can't tell when they're hot. So they're going to go ahead and attach. Once they attach, they'll break it, and then they flash. So now the team's going to be going back and forth. Clifton's currently going into the box, and it looks like he picked up a little M&M. Kevin and Tatar are now working together to basically heat the piece in specific spots. Once they heat up those areas, the team will bring it over, they'll break the piece and attach it to that piece of glass. So one of the things that we have to consider is at the end of this, we're going to have to break this off and allow it to cool down. Whenever we allow all the glass to cool down, we have to make sure that it cools at an even rate for enough time to make sure that the piece doesn't get too stressed and break. So what we want to do now is at the very end of it, we're going to cool it off over a long period of time. So you can see it takes a lot of teamwork to be able to tap, break off, and attach. So this is definitely why we say it's a team sport overall. So in the box we have quite a lot of different pieces. We have some M&Ms, we have some worms, we have an Oreo, we have some animal crackers. So at this point, the entire team's just going to be picking up stuff and bringing it over to attach to the giant blizzard. For those of you guys who have just joined us or online who are watching us at home and have joined us, we are making this in preparation for our next year. We make an ice cream themed donation jar that'll hold our around for the entire year. And then at our end of year event, which will be June 24th for us, we will hold our ice cream social. At our ice cream social, we're gonna have ice cream available for everyone. We'll also have ice cream bowls that are made from glass that you can buy. And additionally, we'll have sand casting that you can participate in during the day. The other great thing is that we take the donation jar that we made last year, which is a nice push-up pop, and we're gonna go ahead and break that open and then replace it with the blizzard that we're making today. So what's great about having this many team members now is now we can start really rocking. All three of them can start working on getting different pieces and then getting it ready to attach to the top of the blizzard. So Cliff grabs one, Madeline grabs one, and then Erica also grabs one. And then they'll each bring it over. That way, whenever Kevin and Tatar are ready, they can just keep attaching pieces. So the next piece we have going on is looking like it'll be an animal cracker. So Cliff has now picked up an Oreo off screen. And so right now they're attaching the animal cracker. They've attached it, it's fused together. Cliff is now working on the Oreo on the other end of the bench, which will be the next one to go on. So one of the things we have to consider is whenever we work with glass, it's an organic material. So hardly ever does it get really nice, sharp, defined lines. And so we have to figure out ways that we can imply that. And so for us, we want to make sure that we get the colors right, we get the general shape right, and we imply those shapes that we like. So for the Oreo, we've added a little bit of texture to make it look more like an Oreo. For the animal cracker, it was important to make sure that the colors were right with the sprinkles. And then for the M&Ms and gummy worms, making sure the general shapes of both of those were great. So now they're going to take the Oreo and go and attach it to the hot spot. After they attach it to the hot spot and it's fully fused in, they're going to break it off. And now it's attached. So it's important that after one piece is attached, they make sure they reassess how hot everything is. So they usually go into reheat inside the glory hole and then they'll bring it back. They're now attaching a gummy bear. After they attach, they'll go ahead and reheat the entire piece. That way it's all above that 900-degree mark. They've now brought in another gummy bear from Nick, who's been working in the Flame Studio. So they're going to take that flame-worked gummy bear, attach it, and then they'll flash. So at this point in time, it's just a lot of going back and forth. Like I said, with 3 other team members kind of working to pick up everything and then attach, pick up and attach, it's a lot easier. So we still have some Swedish fish. We have an animal cracker that's left. We also have some other like M&Ms that have been left in the box. And then Nick in the other studio has been working on little strawberry slices as well. What's fun about this project in particular is that all of us just kind of picked out a different item that we would choose as a topping. So each of us has been able to make a piece. Even myself and Amy, who's working behind the camera, were all able to kind of make a piece beforehand. And since it was holding in that box at 900 degrees, we were able to hold it there for a couple hours. So next up is going to be the Swedish fish, I believe. Strawberry slice will be the next one up. And so that was done by Nick in the torch working studio. So now they're discussing what they have left, where they want to go with it, and what more they want to attach. So Erica's grabbed another M&M. So they're going to go ahead and heat up the pot. They will then attach. So we still have, there's a pink animal cracker left in the box. There's some other little gummy worms and M&Ms. And then Nick is still making some other stuff on the other end. I think Erica the feet. So there's a lot of communication that goes on between the team. Kevin's the one technically in charge right now. Kevin's directing everyone when to turn, when to start moving. And then Tatar's making sure the entire piece is nice and hot, as well as controlling when and where it's turning. So even though Kevin is now on the ground outside the bench, he is still in charge of the piece, telling everyone to do the different parts and when to direct. What do we got? One gummy bear. Go check and see what Nick has, please. Nick, what do you have?
I have one more strawberry that's good and a full gummy bear.
Nick has one more strawberry that's good and another full gummy bear. So Nick has one more strawberry, and then he also has a gummy bear.
What does that make?
Got it?
Did you have anything?
Full strawberry and then a gummy bear.
Strawberry. Let's call it.
Strawberry.
Slices. Full strawberry or just slices?
Is that a full strawberry or slices? Slices. I don't think he has enough for a full strawberry, so he just has slices. Cool. So at this point in time, we're nearing the end of our current Blizzard Cup. Essentially, they're going to add one more piece to it. After they add the last piece, then they'll determine where they are with the Blizzard and then make changes after that if they need it. Like Erica has gone ahead and grabbed the last gummy bear that Nick has. And they're going to go ahead and attach. So they've been attaching in a couple different styles. One way they've been attaching is just by using the pipe with the punty and then tapping and breaking it off. The other way they've been doing it is Kevin will take the tweezers and then actually physically attach it with that way. Both ways are great ways to do it. Using the tweezers is a little bit more accurate, but your hand's closer to the heat, which, given that all the holes are on today, all of us are trying to stay away from the heat as best we can. So most of the time we're electing to just tap it and directly attach it and break it off. So unfortunately that last little strawberry slice popped off. It is surprising we got that far and that was the first one to actually pop off. So now the team's kind of determining what they want to do next. They have all the different toppings attached that they want. And then they're going to decide if they want to shape it up a little bit more or if they white or add some red or anything else like that. So I think the last thing they're going to do is add a little bit of a red swoosh potentially. They're discussing what they want to do right now. So instead of doing a long, painstaking process of actually carving in letters, we're going to elect to do a more organic, implied shape to the Blizzard. We do have the capabilities to kind of carve in lettering and stuff, but I don't think we had a white underlay. We may have potentially. but we're going to be adding the red swoosh potentially from the blizzard. Team's kind of discussing what they want to do. So the team said that they're going to go ahead and get this ready to box. Is the plan to sandblast lettering later? Are you guys sandblasting letters later?
Yeah, some maybe later.
Okay, cool. So they might sandblast design later, which will essentially carve in whatever type of lettering that they want. That'll take place whenever it's cold, and since it's a hot day and they've been working for almost an hour and a half straight, they're gonna like to let this sit down and cool off. The other thing is that all of us were working for about an hour or 2 hours before we even started. And so by this point in time, everyone in the shop is sweating and very hot. So we're gonna take this off and then we'll take a little bit of a break afterwards. So most of the colors that you see are going to be somewhat accurate. There's some greens in there specifically that'll brighten up a lot more. The blues will shift slightly, and then some of the other colors might change as well. But for the most part, a lot of the colors look pretty close. So at this point, they're just making sure the piece is all collectively the same temperature. If one side is too hot while the other is too cold, while it's cooling, it can stress it out and cause it to potentially crack. And so what they're going to do is they're going to go ahead and use the fluffy torch to make sure the back end stays hot, where the tip cools a little bit more, and then continually bring it back to the heat and what we call a flash, where they heat it for just a couple seconds. Kevin, meanwhile, off screen, has gone ahead and got all of his equipment on. Tatar is now taking the rings on the pipe. Cliff is also getting ready with a pair of jacks to hold on the jack line to potentially break it off. So Tatar's going to get a little bit of water on that jack line. This is going to create stress marks all across the surface. This also creates a cold spot in the glass. Cliff is going to go ahead and hold it with the jacks. Tatar is going to lift up the pipe and then tap the wood, and it breaks off right on the line. Additionally, they're going to use the hand torch to go ahead and heat up that bottom line. That way it raises in temperature. It also creates this more smooth area. That way none of us are going to get cut once it cools down. Since that area just got stressed with a lot of cold, this heat's going to help balance it out so that way it doesn't stay stressed when it goes in the box. So they're looking good. So Kevin's going to go ahead and start taking it away. And awesome. So like we talked about, that was a huge team effort there. There are 5 people in the studio actually blowing the glass, going back and forth. There were also 2 or 3 other team members before we even started today that were also helping. So this was a big, huge collaboration between everyone at SiNaCa. So we appreciate you guys coming to hang out with us. I think we're going to take a little bit of break, and then I think we'll see what we're going to do.
We're a nonprofit dedicated to education, dedicated to community, and we use glass art and the creative process to help people to heal and to become interested in the visual arts, to become interested in science. A lot of our programming is focused around STEM concepts, STEAM concepts really, to include the arts. And we are a public access studio here for everyone. SiNaCa Studios was founded in 2010. We started offering program in early 2011, and we have over 30,000 people come and participate. The brand really illustrates community and bringing together the primary elements in community. We offer glass blowing opportunities, we offer flame working classes and workshops, and we also offer kiln forming classes. We've done programming for domestic abuse survivors, we've done programming for homeless kids and people who are looking to heal. We've used our process to help people to express themselves. One of our probably more powerful stories is about a young woman named Alexis who came in and she had never worked with glass, and we did a kiln forming project, and she and her brother and several other students cast their ideas into thick pieces of glass, and she made a heart that helped her to express the loss of her father. Had a pacemaker. It was a real interesting piece, and it ended up going at auction to someone who had also lost their father, and it was a really powerful moment for all of us. She was struggling to express herself, and we helped her to find her voice and to make something that she could not only see how it could help her tell her story, but also to connect in the community and help someone else kind of heal through glass art. As SiNaCa Studio presents to foundations and to donors and receives support, oftentimes the support is specific to a project where we're bringing in kids that are connected with those foundations or with those donors, and that money goes specifically to offering this opportunity to people who wouldn't have it otherwise. The organization has a sustainability model where we generate revenue in many ways, and that revenue is what covers our overhead and keeps the organization going. The support oftentimes is specific to a program, so that 100% of people's donations go towards offering programming to people. Our outreach and our culture of outreach really drives us to find funding outside of that so we can bring the community in and offer programs specifically to our community. Thank you. We are a determined group, and I pledge that any support offered will be used in endeavors in the spirit of community, with kindness and generosity, and with fearlessness.
I think she's about ready.
All right, well, thank you guys all for tuning in to June 2023. Our Blizzard, our ice cream treat, will be unveiled at the Ice Cream Social. So join June the 24th, Saturday, June 24th, for the Ice Cream Social, where we're going to be some here to get through the summer and gear up for the rest of the season. We get really busy in October and November and December, but still summer in September in Texas. But come out in September if you ourselves. People be excited about life, to learn, to engage in culture, to express themselves, create, to heal. Those things. We do it more glass. And the Ice Cream Social is a great day to come get involved with us. We'll be doing sand casting. We'll have, I think we've got like 75 or 80 beautiful glass bowls. So for $50, Ice Cream is our partner this year, and so you can come have some melt ice cream. We want to thank them for their support. I want to thank Topo Chico for their support. I want to thank Lockwood, who's a great place down the street, super support. Bar for their support and their donations. So many people. I can't. It's about our team. It's about the relationships that are closest to us. So I want to thank and recognize Heidi. Happy birthday, builders today. I want to thank Gene, who's behind the camera, helping to produce the show. Imran's back there for Instagram. I want to thank Kevin, Erica, Gene, Nick. We're really people, and your support will help us to grow, do more in our community. So thanks so much for tuning in. Come to the ice cream, the gallery. Come to class. Thanks for everything, everybody. Y'all have a wonderful one. Bye.